So that's our topic again today. It's Wednesday, and the specific focus for today is my favorite job search tip. So I'm going to be talking about that in a minute. I want to make sure that you have the link to my six-part video series. I made a free six-part video series. COVID. I'm recovering from COVID. It's such a pain, but what are you going to do? Get that bivalent vaccine when you can get it, because my COVID would have been worse had I not had it. All right, this is the link I'm about to post in the comments to the six-part video series. Here is the link to register for my free six-part video series. Get your dream job. Okay, Rohan, I'm sorry. You need to get this link. You'll see it in the comments. You're on the comeback too, Scott? So sorry to hear that. Ow, yuck. Get this link. Look for it in the comments and go to that site. Type in your name, your email address. That's going to get you the six-part video series. It's about 3 hours long. It's a lot of information about how to get your dream job. And I would love for you to have it. Good morning, everyone. So look for that comment that I just left, and you'll see a link. Go to the link, type in your email address, and you will be on the list to get the whole six-part video series, Get Your Dream Job. All right. So I said I've been doing these Monday, Tuesday. Today's Wednesday, I think. This is the COVID brain. Yes, I think it's Wednesday. And I'm also going to be here Thursday and Friday and Saturday, all at 10 o'clock Eastern time, talking about how to get your dream job. So yesterday, I talked a lot about branding, your branding. And you can still find that LinkedIn Live. You find the video on LinkedIn. It's there. If you look for me, Liz Ryan, you'll be able to see my posts. And one of them is, it's going to be up there for a few days. You'll see me talking yesterday in like a purple shirt about branding and how important it is. It's so important in a job search. We are past the time in history where we could say what everyone says and expect to get a good result. You know, the old-fashioned branding, it's out now. That would be like results-oriented professional or multi-skilled business professional. That it's like doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any weight. It certainly doesn't carry across your talent, your personality, your spark. So now we're going to talk to employers and recruiters differently. We're going to use a human voice, your voice. We're going to speak pretty much like I'm talking to you right now. I am an IT project manager specializing in large implementations of SAP, finance, or whatever, right? Just say it in one sentence with a period at the end, like you're speaking to a regular person. That's why my resume approach that I developed and teach is called a human voiced resume, because it sounds like you when you talk to someone, or it sounds like me when I talk to someone. It's like, hi, here's who I am, and here's what I do. Okay, James, I'm not going to email you, my friend. You're going to find the link that is in these comments. Scroll the comments quickly now before there's a million of them and there's too many, and scroll down. You'll see my link. I'm gonna post it again. Here is the link again to my free six-part video series, Get Your Dream Job. Sign up and you will see it. All right. Well, I hit enter too fast, so the following comment is the one with the link. But that's life, right? Okay. So I said that I was going to share with you today my favorite job search tip. Okay, you ready? Here it is. Wow, this is something that I have found to be very, very powerful. And if, like most of my job search advice, I got this aha about this tip or this technique because I sat on the other side of the desk. I was an HR person for thousands of years, reviewing thousands and thousands of resumes. And I noticed that the ones that grabbed my attention and our hiring managers in the company grabbed their attention were the ones that said front and center, here's what I do, here's how I do it, or here's why I do it, or here's what speaks to me about this type of work. And it was just very crisp and very declamatory. And the other thing that grabbed our attention, stories. Stories. You're going to tell short stories in your resume and your LinkedIn profile. So, talking about yourself in the abstract, I am a problem solver, blah, blah. Okay, you are. You say that you are. I want to believe you, but I don't know you. And I have a stack of like 40 resumes on my desk or on my screen. So, can you tell me about one of these times when you solved a problem, when you made something good happen? I just need some evidence. It's not that I don't trust you, it's just that I don't know you. And I got a lot of other people saying the exact same thing that you are saying to me. I am a problem solver. I am an incisive, insightful, blah, 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 blah. The adjectives, the praising adjectives. I'm savvy. I'm strategic. I'm seasoned. I'm this, I'm that. We don't know why that might be true. And if it's true, just tell us why it's true. Give me a story. Give me a little short story. So I'm like, okay, first of all, we agree on what the terms mean. We don't know until you tell me a story if we're talking about the same thing. When you say, I have administrative skills, we literally do not know what that means or even if it is the case. We don't know. I have administrative skills. Do you, my friend? I would love to hear, give me some proof in the form of a story. Not only is that really compelling, but it makes me want to meet you and talk to you and hear the rest of the story. So rather than saying, I have negotiation skills, do you? Did you formulate and negotiate peace accords between warring nations? A very high stakes, complex negotiation? Or did you call the coffee vendor and tell them to throw in a couple of free creamers with the next order? We don't know. We can't scale or scope your negotiation skills. So you claiming you have negotiation skills isn't really helpful, right? Tell us a story. You have administrative skills? Yeah, I do. I supervise two receptionists and I put together a manual to help everybody in our office schedule meetings, schedule conference rooms, schedule travel, whatever it is. Tell us what you did. Then we believe that you can do it. Tell us what you did, not the tasks you were assigned, because any literal person in the same job description would have had the same tasks. So the fact that you say, I have these tasks, did you do them well though? Tell us a story about a specific time when you did a specific thing and rocked the house. That's what we want to hear. Your stories. All right, let me see what we have in the comments here. Yeah, exactly, Albert. I can start small businesses. Yeah, can you? Tell us how you started a small business. I started a business in my garage. I started a business in my bedroom and I grew it to XYZ. Okay, cool. That's amazing. Right there, you have more credibility than saying, I can and I do and I have. But do you though? We want to know. Okay. Tell us how. Tell us how, Albert. Just declaring, I made it to the top. The top of what? Do we believe you? Is that the top? You know what I mean? Everybody has their own view. Okay. So let's see. Comments are kind of funky here. They're not really that helpful the way they display the comments. So let's see if I can quickly scroll. Yeah. Let's see what we got. Question regarding skills. What are your thoughts on a professional skills section then, since it doesn't actually tell a story and just uses bullet points? It's a waste of space. Professional skills if it's concrete stuff like applications, software applications, absolutely. Programming languages, hardware you've worked with, absolutely. Otherwise, just saying administrative skills, organizational skills, negotiation skills, literally leave it out. It's negative. It's not a positive because we don't believe, we don't have any proof. Rather than just list those skills, tell the story where you use the skills. Little short stories. Tell us little short stories, right? Here's an example. In my boss's absence, so we set the scene just like a movie. In my boss's absence, comma, right? I led the department to have our second best month ever in terms of sales. Hell yeah, you did. You were there. They can ask you questions about it, right? My boss wasn't there. I had to jump in, help out. I was asked to help out. So that's what I did. Here's another story. I devised an email marketing campaign that yielded $15,000 of sales in 3 days. It's so simple. That's what I did. I taught our department how to make better PowerPoint presentations and what was recognized by the VP. Little teeny weeny short stories. Yes, Scott, include the results. Include the results, right? You saved a customer. There were some sales that you were willing to claim that were attributable to your work, and you're happy to tell the story about it. It's not bragging. It's saying, here's what happened. I was there. This is what I did. This is what we did. People say, I don't want to claim the stories because it was a team effort. I know it was a team effort. Everybody understands it was a team effort, but tell us what you did on the team. In fact, one of the worst things you can say is, I was instrumental on a team. Don't classify and quantify and characterize your participation as instrumental. Tell us what you did and let us decide whether you were instrumental. The reader wants to decide for themselves. They want to have the evidence laid out and they want to decide. You don't say, I was instrumental on a team. Were you though, my sweetheart? How can I decide? You're keeping me from the good stuff. I want to know what you did, and I'll decide if it was instrumental. That's why you don't say I'm savvy, I'm strategic, don't characterize yourself. Why would we believe you? We don't know you. Don't give the praising adjectives weaken you because they say that you feel that you need to praise yourself. You don't need to praise yourself. You're amazing right now. Just tell us what you did. You don't have to say I'm smart, I'm amazing. One of the worst things to say on your resume is I have excellent communication skills or superior communication skills. No, you don't though. Because if you did, you'd use them in the resume instead of talking about them, right? You ever look at dating profiles, right? You ever look at dating sites over your kid's shoulder or whatever? The people that say, I'm so hip and sexy and cool, then be that. You don't tell us what you think you are. That's a fear-based approach, right? You're just going to say, this is what I did. I went to this place. I did this stuff and it was cool. And here's the result that I had, right? You don't have to stoop to impress anyone. You just be yourself, bring out what you've done, and it's so much more powerful. It's so much more compelling. Okay. Suggested resume layout, length, stories, and professional experience. I would like you to include stories in 2 places in your resume. I apologize for the COVID. Why? I avoided it so strenuously for 2.5 years. Okay. The first place you could put a little tiny story in your resume is the summary at the top. Tiny story. This would be an example of a resume summary at the top of your resume. You are, let's say, an office manager. And so you've got a little title on that summary. We call it branding statement. It says office manager. Why do you have that there? Because you want to frame the rest of your resume right away with that title, office manager. That's what I'm going as. That's what I'm going to the party as. I'm an office manager, at least in this version of my resume. Office manager. Great. I'm an office manager who thrives on keeping a busy office humming and a overstressed executive team, calm, right? Period. I've worked a ton with travel, with correspondence, sensitive correspondence, high level clients, or if it's a financial or legal organization, high net worth, that says that you know how to be sensitive and kid gloves and all that stuff. And keeping the team informed and supported, is my greatest pleasure. So you're saying that you see the movie already because you've lived in the movie. You don't stay away from it and say, I have these skills. Tell us what you did and how you work and how you function in an organization in human language that is so much more compelling. Because what that says to the reader is, oh, they get it. This person gets it, right? We helped a client who was an office manager getting no pickup on her LinkedIn profile, no recruiter calls. It was a very generic LinkedIn profile, although her skills are fantastic. It wasn't coming through. So she changed her LinkedIn headline to say, office manager, that's the official title, office manager slash business air traffic controller looking for CEO to keep sane, SANE. Now that's a little jaunty, right? It's not the traditional formal. She says, I don't care. I'm looking for the person who's going to laugh, who's going to chuckle or smile at my LinkedIn headline and find me like to their liking and I to theirs. And she got a job in 2 weeks because she came out of the traditional, I'm only allowed to say these things. All the time that she stayed in the traditional frame, she just sort of, uh, what's the word? Watered down her own power. And when she was willing to say, I don't have to work for everyone, I need one organization that gets me, therefore deserves me. And she put this headline, office manager slash business air traffic controller. What's an air traffic controller? The planes are coming in and out of the airport. It's chaos, but the air traffic controller is calm on the mic saying, okay, United Airlines flight A743, you're approaching runway 6, calm and steady with chaos going on. They're cool, it's all fine. And that's what she does in her job as an office manager. So she found an archetype, the air traffic controller. What a great archetype for an office manager. Put it right in her LinkedIn profile, and boom, that was the key. And then the rest of her resume proceeded the same way. It's professional, but it's human. And it says, I have the confidence to speak to you like a person, not like somebody who's lining up and saying, please, your majesty, please find me acceptable. So stories and images expressed in words, very, very, very powerful in your resume. And they cut through the noise, cut through the clutter. And will everyone like your stories? No. Do you need every single person to approve of you or want to meet you? No. You don't have time to meet every single person. So what we're doing in branding is separating what they call the wheat from the chaff. We're separating the people that you want to talk to from the people that you don't. Okay. So thank you, Jessica, for posting that link again. Appreciate that. Look for the link to my video series, Get Your Dream Job. Click, please, on that link, and then you can enter your email address, and then you'll get the full series of videos. Thankfully, recorded before I got sick. What are you going to do? Okay. This is the truth. When I look at resumes, I'm sorry I can't see your name here because the chat is displaying weirdly. When I look at resumes that just state how great someone is, the only thing I can think of is, why should I believe you? And this is the truth. This is me for 20 years reviewing resumes. I love you. I'm happy for you, but you're just stating these bland generalities. I'm savvy. I'm a strategic marketer. Just tell me how you strategically marketed then. Give me one example. I just need that because I have a huge stack of resumes and I would love to pull your resume out of that stack. But right now you're saying exactly what everyone else says. Now, do I blame you for branding yourself in such a boring traditional way? Of course not. We were taught to do it. I was taught to do it, to squash down my own flame to sound like everyone else. Why? Why would that be desirable? It's bad advice. And it's very, very, very widespread advice. And that's why we have our company, Human Workplace, to get rid of this old training and say, no, that is not the way to express what you can do for the sake of the reader or your own sake. I want you to feel your power. I don't want you to diminish your power, hide your light under a bushel. I don't want you to do that. Okay, let's see. Please, Your Majesty. Yeah, that's what we don't want. We don't want that. Please, Your Majesty, please find me acceptable. You're looking for the person who finds you not just acceptable, but awesome and really a person they want to talk to. You don't have to grovel. If you have to beg and grovel for the job, I don't think it's the right job for you. Okay, let's see what we have in the comments. I will keep going. Yeah, comments are not really cooperating with us. So let's keep going. When it comes to stories, there are two places, as I mentioned, where you are going to include stories in your resume. The first one is one quick story in the summary at the top of your resume, right underneath your contact information. That summary is a frame for the entire resume. It says, this is how I want you to understand the rest of the resume. It's a big problem to just list your career history in reverse chronological order without telling the reader what they're supposed to make of it. If we do that, if we simply list our career history, starting with our current or most recent job and move backwards in time, we're saying, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want you to think about me. I'm just telling you what I did. Then you might as well not even have a resume. You need to tell the reader who you are and what you're trying to do and why that is a really logical, sensible thing for you to be doing, right? Let's say you're an HR person. Let's say you're an HR coordinator and you set up interviews for candidates. You do some of the HR communications. You help out with onboarding and orientation. A really important job. You communicate with employees all day long, help them set up a vacation day or week, get their ID badge. If something happens, the cat destroys the ID badge or whatever. There's constant employee interaction. And what are you doing? You're solving problems for employees, and you're also keeping that energy really good and happy and uplifting in the organization. So it's a very important job. And so you're going to tell stories right at the top of your resume. In the summary, you're going to tell one quick story. So your summary might sound like this. You have a branding statement at the top of the summary that says HR coordinator. That's the kind of job I'm looking for, right? And it says, I am an HR coordinator who thrives on supporting supporting my teammates with great HR service, from setting up time off to to arranging interviews, interacting with candidates, speeding all the HR processes, and delivering incredible service to support our organization's goals and culture. That's one sentence. Now you're going to tell a story in the second sentence, little quick story. At Acme Explosives, I led the benefits portion of our first day orientation meeting for new employees and got 95% successful enrollment in the first week. Just one number, one little metric that says, I understand this kind of work. I explained the benefits plan so well and so thoroughly and so thoughtfully that 95% of people had no problem signing up at their own desk using the laptop the company gave them, or going home and signing up. And they did it 95% in the first week. And I'm very proud of that. So you don't say, I'm savvy, I'm strategic. Why would we believe that? That diminishes us actually to praise ourselves, because in life, we don't praise ourselves. We just say, here's what I've done. Here's what I'm doing. What are you doing? Right? So that's the first place that you're going to tell a story in your resume, is in the summary at the top of your resume. The second place where you're going to tell a story is in every job that you've held, at least one little tiny story. We have a name for these little stories about times when you came and saw and conquered at work. We call them dragon slaying stories. Dragon slaying stories. Why do I call them dragon slaying stories? Because they're stories of triumph. You showed up and you slew the dragon. Now, dragons, of course, are fictional, except for Komodo dragons, which are not really dragons, but they're called Komodo dragons, and they live, I believe, in Indonesia. They're very large lizards. But if you don't like the idea of slaying dragons, I understand, and you can call them dragon taming stories, right? Dragon taming stories. But either way, they're powerful, tiny little stories. So imagine the difference between saying, I've been working with Excel for 3 years to create reports. Okay. There's so much variation from one end of that spectrum to the other. What kind of reports for who? Does that make you an Excel expert? We just don't know. You've been working with Excel. I work with Excel. Here's what I do. I open up spreadsheets and I look at them and then I close them in 1 second because it bores me. All right. Do I get to say I work with Excel? I observe Excel. I am sometimes in the performance of my job forced to look at Excel. It's not my favorite thing. Tell us, I created an Excel report to help my VP of sales make better pricing and territory assignment decisions. I devised a report showing profitability by territory to help my VP make territory assignment decisions. That's a sales thing. I know what I did and I know why I did it. That's what we want to say in the resume. I showed up, I did the thing. I don't say I have abstract skills that are on a shelf somewhere. Who cares? I would say I know when to take the skills down off the shelf and use them to good effect. In other words, I have altitude on my job. I don't just do what I'm told, but I understand why these things are important to do and what the possible impact is. And so when I've had a great day at work, or a great week or great month, and I did something really useful and important, I'm going to claim it. I want you to claim the great things you've done at work. Here's my motto. If you did it, claim it. If you did it and it wasn't in your job description, claim it. You did it. You can answer questions about it. If you did it and your boss didn't give you that work, you stumbled upon it in conversation with other people, claim it. If you did it and you weren't really supposed to do it, claim it. If you did it and someone else would say that was their job description because there was a little turf battle going on, a little territorial dispute going on, claim it. If you did it and your boss, who you did not really get along with, would say they don't agree with the way you did it, or even necessarily the fact that you claim it, go ahead and claim it because your boss is not in charge of your career or your job search. We talked about that 2 days ago in our first LinkedIn Live event in this series, Get Your Dream Job. We said it's your boss's, God bless them, they're a person on the planet, but they don't run your career. You do. So if your boss says, well, I don't agree that you did that, that would hurt you in your performance review, but it doesn't hurt you in the whole rest of the big world. If you did it and you can answer questions about it, you claim it on your resume. That's your taking your power back, right? Nothing against your boss, but they don't run your life. You're an adult. You did it, claim it in the form of a dragon slaying stories. Okay. I have a summary in narrative form in my resume. It's supported with action statements. Fantastic. I'm very current on technology and innovation. I don't get traction. I wonder if age plays a role. Stop. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. That is where we go. I'm older than you, I guarantee. But don't go there. I wonder if age. That if you posted The comments are not working that well right now, but if you posted that story, I would help you wordsmith that. And I'll post something. Actually, this LinkedIn Live will be on LinkedIn for several days, and you can post that language that you're not sure about on a comment, and I'll come back if I see it. Hopefully, I will, and share some thoughts on the words. We go to age, and I understand why we do, but that it's right now the job market being what it is in the United States, that the hiring managers can't afford to worry about your age. Maybe at one point they could. If they have pain, if you have a solution, you got to use your stories to bring across how you solved problems that your prospective hiring managers are likely to be facing. I don't want you to see massive societal problems like age discrimination, or for that matter, gender discrimination, racial discrimination, ableism, or any of that to say, well, therefore. There's no therefore in that. You need one hiring manager. So we're not going to say, oh, I wonder if age got these people not to like me. Here's the thing about people not liking you or not approving of you. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter why. You can't fight that foe, age discrimination. You can only go out every day and say, I need one. I appreciate myself, and I need one hiring manager who appreciates me. So if we let these sort of like boogeymen, like age discrimination, oh my gosh, what can I do? You do what I'm telling you to do right now, right? You say, God bless the people that don't get me, they don't deserve me. I need one, right? There really is a very, very important mindset piece here, which is that we're not going to identify shadowy influences and say, well, therefore, don't apply through the website, through the applicant tracking system. Read my columns. I have thousands and thousands of columns about age discrimination, about pain letters, all this stuff. And right now, specifically, go to this link that a couple of people have very, very kindly posted here and sign up for my new video series called Get Your Dream Job, because we talk about all this. Don't let your current job define your worth. If you do the work, you own your actions and the results. Use that experience in your favor. Sarah, thank you so much, Sarah. That is the truthiest truth right there, right? Use the experience that you've got and talk about it. Real specific stories. Sometimes, Peter, when we tell stories, they're not stories. I raised sales 40%. Well, there's no context. That's not a story. Make sure that you know what a story is. Here's the situation. Here's what I did. Here's why that was a good thing to do. So I raised sales 40%. No one cares what was the starting point, was the ending point, what would someone else have raised them. We don't get any bite. We don't get any juice out of this. That's not a story. Okay, that's a thing, that's a metric, but that you can do much better than that. Okay. So when we're telling stories, these dragon slaying stories, they're going to show up one in the summary, just one. Because if you got a strong story, you're not going to water it down by telling another story right afterwards, right? It's jarring. That's not the way stories work, right? You're going to tell one story and be like, oh, I want to read the rest of this resume. I'm a hiring manager. I want to keep reading. This person sounds like someone I should know. Then you go down into the body of your resume, and for every job in your resume, at least one quick dragon slaying story. It's a bullet point. It's a bullet point. You frame up the role, the job that you held, by explaining right under the name of the organization, the job title, and your dates, not months, but years that you were there, 2019 to 2020, or whatever it was. Now you tell the story of how you got there. That is a tiny little story in itself, and it's called a framing statement for the job. I was recruited to Acme Explosives to help them launch their first e-commerce site. Cool. I was recruited the regular way. I was living my life. A recruiter reached out on LinkedIn. I talked to them, but indeed, I was recruited. Right? That's like, oh, you were recruited by these guys to do this thing. Yes, I was. So that's how I got there, and it tells you the shape of the job in a very simple way that anyone could understand. I was recruited. The role happens to be called e-commerce operations analyst, but I was brought in there to do this specific thing. This was the mission for me in that job. And then your little Dragon slaying stories, one or two, maybe three, but two is plenty, tell us how you fulfill that mission. That's their function. They make it real. They put a movie in the hiring manager's head, a movie of you doing your brilliant stuff. So the first one is I was hired at Acme Explosives, which makes stick dynamite and pipe bombs for coyotes, if you're familiar with the Roadrunner cartoons. And if you're not, it's perfectly fine. What did I do when I was brought in as the e-commerce analyst over there at Acme Explosives? First bullet point, it's a dragon slaying story. I designed, working with the marketing and operations, I designed the procedures to fulfill orders through our website and get them shipped, as well as to provide customer service before, during, and after. Okay, so that's the first thing I did. It's not exciting, but it was really important and it needed to happen. Okay, second bullet is another story. I uh, created a marketing funnel and processes to grow our e-commerce business in the first year from 0 to $10 million. Oh, okay. All right. Who that is building an e-commerce site is not going to want to talk to you about that, right? And if your stories aren't so big in scope, $10 million a year, it's absolutely fine. A wonderful story could be I saved an angry customer from leaving and not doing business with us anymore, right? I unsnarled a thorny billing issue and saved a $400,000 a year customer from leaving. Now, how do you know they do $400,000 a year in business with your firm? You look it up. I want you to get these numbers and get these metrics while you're working in the job so that later when you're writing the stories, you don't have to say, oh, I wish I knew what happened with that newsletter that I did. You find out when you're in the job. If you've already left, ask your friends who used to work there or extrapolate. Extrapolate. As long as you can explain where your numbers come from, no one's going to say, have these numbers been audited? Just extrapolate, meaning estimate from what you do know to what you don't 100% know, right? What good effect did your work have? You can make an educated guess. In fact, sometimes it's more impressive to say, I don't know the exact numbers because I wasn't privy. They didn't share that information with me, but here's what I've extrapolated. Here's what I've estimated from what I do know, right? Seems to me that it costs our company about $200 to acquire a new customer. And I created an intake process that doubled the rate of new customers coming in. So this is where I got this number that I put in my resume. Oh, that's very cool. That's very thoughtful, right? So there's two places where stories will show up in your resume. One is the summary at the top, and the second one is these little dragon slaying stories are going to show up down in the bottom of your resume under each job that you've held. Right? I was at one place for 40 years. My job was eliminated by a new CEO. Do I state how long I was there in my resume, or does 40 years become a negative? That's a really, first of all, hats off to you. That's amazing, Eileen. Um, it's completely up to you. There is something called A/B testing, A/B testing. That means you try two approaches at the same time to see which one works better. The two ways that I know of to address a long tenure in a job, like 40 years, one is to say the dates. I worked there from 1979 to 2019. That's 40 years. We're probably about the same age, which is a rocking age, by the way. The other way, so that'd be A in this A/B testing idea. The other way would be to take any point or juncture in your 40 years at that company where something changed, like your title changed, perhaps, or they were bought, or they bought somebody, or whatever, and start there and start at that point. So let's say from 1994 till now, or till when you recently left, you had a new role that was not the original role that you were hired into. Let's say in 1979, when you and I were listening to the same music, I'm sure, right? you start with that new role. So from 1999 to 2019, I was an inventory control supervisor, and you start there, right? It's not misleading anybody because you're saying this is what I did at this time, and it's true, right? You happen to also have worked for the company 20 years prior, but there's no requirement that every job you've ever held go on your resume. Your resume is a marketing document. It's not a legal document. You put what you want, right? It has to be true, but you put what you want. You can leave off a very short-term job that didn't work out or something that just isn't relevant. Leave it off. So you can start that story, Eileen, where you want to start the story. Good morning, Sandra from BC. Such a beautiful spot, British Columbia. Okay, so we are running out of time because I have to get to another meeting, sick as I am. And but I want you to have this idea of telling stories in your resume. The traditional, staid, sort of boring jargon is out, doesn't work, it doesn't grab anyone's attention, it doesn't convey your power, right? I have a resume like that, results oriented professional. I have that resume that I had made for me at the print shop down the street from my apartment in Chicago in 1982. Yes, I did. I went to the print shop and had them make 100 resumes for me. And I have them somewhere in the garage. I got to find one so I can show you. I thought that was the bee's knees. I thought that was the way to write a resume because everybody thought that. But now, here we are, 40 years later. No, you're going to bring across so much more of your power and your spark and your brilliance and your what you've done and why it matters in your new resume, human voice resume. So thank you for watching today. This video will be on LinkedIn for a few days, and I encourage you to scroll down through the comments and find the link to my video series, Get Your Dream Job. Click on the link and enter your email address, and you will get then the access to all of those 6 videos in that series, Get Your Dream Job, where I'm talking in detail about all of this stuff. And I hope it's helpful for you. And I'll be back on LinkedIn Live tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. So I hope you can join me then, as well as Friday and Saturday. So it's a whole marathon. And I'm so glad that you were able to join me today. And here's to you and your growing flame.